Yes, wonderful, wonderful. Welcome to the show. I'm Arius Bookman, your host, and we're gonna do the third and last part of the interview. The first two parts of the interviews were the part where I was asking questions. I usually put the questions out to whoever I'm going to interview beforehand, so they have a chance to chew on them, if you will. And this last part is the questions that Seymour was asking me. I think this video is a little longer because we, had a nice little conversation, but it'll be fun nonetheless. So a good way to round it out. Tomorrow is the last day of Welcome Week. So if you want to get in the guild, especially at the price I'm having it at now, you want to go ahead and do that. So let's jump right into it. I was checking my phone. Sorry. Let's jump right into it. Give me 45 seconds. All right, link in the description. You click it, it'll take you to our website. Or you can just go to the website, click the guild at the top. Boom. You get you straight there, okay? And like I said, all the details and stuff are there. But it's not the details you're waiting for. You probably already made a decision what you're going to do, now you're justifying it. But you're not going to find nothing here to justify it. So yeah, like I said, tomorrow's the last day of Welcome Week. After that, train leaves the station. And we won't be back until what is it? April, May, June. So around the end of June. So we'll see. Other than that, man, I'm ready to get into the interview today. Let's see. Hold on. Mute this out.
So, aside from my questioning, is there anything you would want to ask me or have to say? You think?
Yeah, let me see. I did have a question. I thought about this like last week. What was the question? It was about your students, but it was something else I had prior to that. What was that question? I should have written it down, right? Tweaking. What?
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
I think I asked you this before, and I think you made a video about this. Like, how do you know when your students are on the right track? Or is there a track?
Oh. No, that's an appropriate addition. Because technically and ultimately, there isn't a track, but in terms of participating in the guild, because I like to frame the course as somewhat of an expedition. And so on an expedition, even though there's not a track through the jungle, it's like I've made one and I want to introduce you to it. So in that sense, there's a track. Um, but
Mm.
but the way I can tell is always by the questions that they'll ask. Um, and not in the semantics of the question. Not did you use the right word? Did you ask the as if there's a right question to ask? It's it's sort of how you know, like when you're dancing, if you hit like let's say you jump into the electric slide and you go through about 2 or 3 rounds and do it, and then there's a way in which you can do that step with the extra little shimmy in it, and
Mm.
it's like that's what the question will have in it. The question, because especially when you can recognize when you do this yourself, um, the question will have the pretense from where it's coming in it. It'll
Mm.
have the shape of who asks that, and in especially if we can go back and forth a little bit, there's a place where I can see you seeing it, and that's what I'm looking for you to. I want to see you see it. You're not just oh shit, oh man, that's crazy. People do that too. It's not in that. It's in the shift in that presumption in the question. So the first question has uh, a presumption, and okay, maybe the second and third question might have that too. But about the fourth question, if they see it, the stance they're taking to asking the question, their posture, their orientation, it shifts, and you can hear it in the shift in the pretense. And it's like, well, hold on. If this is that, and
Mm.
this is that, does that mean this is this? Yes, exactly. And if you can see that, here, look over there too. Because all these things come together, and then that must mean this. Exactly. And I can see you seeing the path that I'm walking on. Um, and it is tough because in the listening, there's in the listening to the question, there's a way in which I kind of have to follow you to see that you see. Like, and that's the part where I'm saying it's not just in the semantics. I have to like, it's like following a dog or a little kid to something they're trying to show you, and like you don't know where you're going, but you have to take the stance of I'm on the journey with you to grab it. So there's a way I kind of have to follow you as I listen to the question, and that's part of why I insist on questions, not because um, I don't have anything else I could say, and I need you
Mm.
to
Mm.
give me the next thing. Because sometimes people will do that, like they don't realize they have nothing to say, and so they ask for questions to invoke something for them to say. But it's not that I don't have anything else I can say. It's that I want the opportunity to follow you through how you took in what I said. So because I want to see what I'm missing. I want to see what part of that I failed in my delivery. Outside of the words, outside of if I gave you the information, there's the how that I have to make sure I grab. Not like how in procedure, but like how in orientation towards whatever I'm dealing with.
So yeah, I thought this was a good question. Um, and in my answer, I kind of went, I kind of fast. I want to walk back through it. So the question is basically, uh, how is it I can tell when my student is on track, or even deeper, is there a track? Okay, and that's a good question. So look, this is the first part right out the gate. Um, quite often people show up to this work, this body of information, the guild, with a particular kind of presumption. Okay, and the presumption is something to the effect of, I'm searching for the true way. I'm trying to put this big puzzle together that's secret and been hidden, and I'm getting close. I feel close, but I just got to put these pieces together in just the right way, and boom, then I'll see the truth. I'll know the truth. And I mean, because look, a lot of people who are here, they do the thing where it's, I'm spiritual and I'm not religious. Okay, they're generally oriented against organized religion and Christianity, and you can have your reasons for that. I'm not going to tell you whether or not that's good or bad. It's a conversation outside of that. So their orientation is away from Christianity, away from organized religion, and towards what effectively becomes this religion of me. And that's usually what the I'm spiritual, not religious boils down to. Is that because look, this is how the math goes. Okay, you're not religious, and when you say religious, you're talking about a set of organized religion. But what's being overlooked is what you mean by that, what you think these things are. This collection of beliefs that you propose to believe. So here you come. I don't believe in Jesus. The devil isn't real. Christianity is fake. And usually when they say something like that is fake, what they mean is it's not historical. Okay, and that's something completely different. Anyways, that's a short-sighted and naive position, and it's when you try and rebel against something, you end up recreating it. Here, let me give you a little example, because I mean I do this example other times as well. Like, look, as you try and reject a thing, you end up remaking it. You end up reinstantiating it. And you have to deeply understand what it is you're apparently opposed. Because otherwise, it comes along in your pocket. What can I use? No, I'm not going to show you all my good shit. Hey, let me see the good shit. Nah, boy. My boy, chill out. Chill out. What you mean the good shit? Ain't even nothing there. Here, I'll just use this. Okay, because I can remake this. Okay, so let's say, for the sake of the example, you're coming out of Christianity, okay? And hold on, how do I take this off? I hit delete, right? Yeah, okay. So you see this blank background, right? This is all the other things you could do, all the other things you could be, because you start out in Christianity, right? And let's say this is the red circle here, okay? Christianity is the red circle, and you're like, well, you look, I'm against Christianity and other organized religions, right? Okay, smooth, 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 smooth. Um, and so you reject it. Okay, you reject it, and you start searching everything that's not Christianity. All right, you supposedly turn your back to it, right? What ends up happening? You search the landscape everywhere except the thing you rejected. And so what have you done? You've recreated the circle. You've recreated the image of the thing you've been rebelling against. This is part of why I say you can't get to this work running away from something. You have to be running towards the work. Otherwise, you're going to recreate what you're claiming to reject. A man usually meets his destiny on the road he takes to avoid it. And look, even Bobby Hemmett was talking to you about that. He was like, look, I want to know so much that even if it takes me back to Christianity, I'm good. But what I routinely find, this is part of that initial orientation people take. No to Christianity. No to organized religion. No to anything that disrupts that personal individual autonomy. And usually, the personal individual autonomy from the framework of your personality. This is part of why I get into the what is you, because that part gets skipped over, just like they'll skip over having done any research into the thing they say they're rejecting. Okay, because if you don't look at how you're bringing it along, it's going to come along. Period. So that's usually the first part of what we have to disrupt on our expedition into Practical Magick. It's this vehement rejection or avoidance of organized religion and what came with it, where you've come from. Cast a spell, good to see you in the chat. Alex, good to see you as well, sir. Welcome to the show. So yeah, that's because when he asks, is there a path? Well, technically, no. There's not a path. There's not some underlying hidden universal truth. And that's usually the stance or the orientation people are taking when they're trying to go through this information. So first and foremost, there's not. But then this is the next part of the path that has to get disrupted. Okay, so you hear me say there's no universal way. Oh, so that means anything goes. Well no. No. And this is usually a sign of poor reasoning skills. But it's look, you got to be bad at it before you're good at it. To say there's not one way doesn't mean every single way works. Okay. Like there's some games you can win. There are multiple routes to victory in the game, but that doesn't mean any and everything secures you a victory. Okay, so it's not, you can't go from one extreme. It's just one universal way, the one true way. That's a very Christian way of thinking. And the natural sciences that we get out of the Western world take that same stance as well. Well, this is the one true neutral way of looking at reality. And when I look at reality through the scientific lens, I am neutral, unbiased. And it's a very particular bias. There's no such thing as a view from nowhere. All perspective is conditioned and framed. That's not a bug in the system, it's a feature. And so this trying to reach a perspective beyond all perspective is ridiculous. There's no perspective that isn't a perspective. Okay? And so it's not about getting away from some type of a bias. There's no position that is unbiased. Rather, you want to understand the bias you bring to the table and how it shows up in your perception, in the landscape of what is salient to you. Remember, what salient means, it grabs your attention or your attention is drawn to it. So what's salient and how that's a product of the biases you have. There's no one, we're not going to get you to some place where you have no bias. It's ridiculous. Instead, you want to re-examine the biases that you come with and how they're showing up. So that's usually the next part we have to disrupt on the path or the expedition that I take you through. Because look, I'm not giving you some secret hidden knowledge. Even when I go through all the shows I do, look, this stuff is not hidden. The issue is your ignorance and poor reasoning. The ignorance and the poor reasoning. And there's nothing out there that's disrupting that for you. And you need it disrupted. That's the self-deception aspect of this work. You need that disruption. Because otherwise you're not going to get feedback to start to hone in to the appropriate way to be looking at this. So it's not that there's a right track. It's that in the guild, on this expedition through Practical Magick, I've laid out a particular course for you to take a tour. Like, no expedition of the jungle gives you everything there is to see in the jungle. Of course not. That's ridiculous. Once again, that's ridiculous. Okay? The guild is very much for people who are coming out of the Western world, who are coming out of this post-colonial perspective of the world, this secular, naturalized perspective of the world. Naturalized, okay? Naturalism is a particular metaphysical position. Sometimes it's a methodological position, but not that I'm saying I'm trying to overlook that, but I want to make sure I explain it if you don't know what I mean by naturalistic. So this is part of what I mean when I say the natural sciences. They're taking a position called naturalism. It's a metaphysical position called naturalism, where basically everything can be explained by virtue of understanding nature. Now, on its face, that sounds beautiful. It sounds very reasonable. But what do you mean by nature? And this comes out of the history of Europe, okay? It's not just, we just chose this word. No. The idea of what is considered natural is defined by what it's rejecting. Remember, I showed you the circle. You end up being defined by the thing you reject. This notion of naturalism comes out of the rejection of another category created called supernaturalism. See, this notion of the supernatural, not even just the word, the concept itself, did not exist outside of Europe. None of the systems that the Europeans looked at and said, you're being supernatural. Well, that concept didn't exist in any of the places they looked at, which is par for the course for Europe. Create their own categories, project them on the rest of the world, and then accuse the rest of the world for being those things. So the naturalist perspective is very much the supernaturalist perspective. So let's say the supernatural perspective is something like, God controls every single thing in the world, and he uses laws of nature to dictate or employ or animate that control. So at the very base of it all, you have God. Well, what the naturalistic perspective does is just cuts out the God part and says, well, they're just laws. And they just exist and they're just there. See, once again, if you track the history, that's a very recent idea. And it doesn't just come out of nowhere. It doesn't just come out of the end result of some long line of critical reasoning. It's a very specific result of the high levels of anxiety and fear of uncertainty that come out of the history of Europe. And, probably for good reason. Europe's been a shit show for a minute. But my point, not just to rag on Europe, is that you will have inadvertently adopted these positions. That's what comes with the culture of this secular Western mindset. And so that has to be disrupted going in here. Because otherwise, what you're going to try and do is listen and you're listening out for me to tell you some way in which this connects to physics, biology, your nervous system, right? What is that? Physics and biology. Okay? But why are you looking for that? Because you have an underlying presumption of naturalism. You don't even know what naturalism is. And it's framed in this quasi-physicalist, dualist type of way. See, when I'm saying physicalist, dualist, I'm not just using jargon. This is why I have to jump into metaphysics immediately. I hit the ground talking about metaphysics. Because the underlying framing is influencing the perception. And you're moving from a place as though your underlying framing is reasonable and unbiased and neutral, and it's not. In fact, it's the very thing that's keeping you from being able to just do this no problem. This notion of, I get reconnect to nature. There's an underlying presumption in that you could ever be disconnected. So even the notion of how nature is framed, coming out of the history of Europe, severs itself from what it calls supernatural. Look, I talk about Friedrich Nietzsche and the history of European thought. Look, because this is what we've adopted. This is what you've been raised in. Oh, they did it to me. Okay, whatever. If you need that to accept it, go ahead. Okay, they did it, but you accept it. And you continue to accept it. As a matter of fact, have a problem letting it go. So that's a whole different conversation as to whether or not what they did. Okay, so I don't care about what they did. It's what are you doing? What are you agreeing to? Where are you bringing this with you? All right, and you have to learn to see it. Otherwise, it's going to run as the default. See, when it came to initiating people in the past, we wouldn't have had to go over this hurdle. We wouldn't have had to disrupt all these things you have to unlearn from the godless society of the West. Okay? It wasn't part of the culture, but now it is. And so it has to be addressed, because otherwise you won't be able to take in anything. Anything you get, you're going to reduce it and diminish it. Okay? And you won't even understand why you're doing it. You'll just think, well, this is normal. This is reasonable. This is ration. Never even looked into rationality. But that's how you feel, because that's the mythos of the West. So that's the first part of the track, is disrupting your allegiances to the secular mindset. Okay? Secular, to make it simple, because of course you're not going to look anything up. A godless perspective. It's the insistence of no supernatural. Even though you usually have no understanding of metaphysics, aside from just reducing it to physics, that's what the secularism is. Okay? And look, there's plenty of stuff you can look up. I think this guy does a pretty good job of it. What's his name? It's Zach something. It's Zach something. Here we go. He does a really good job of this. Although he doesn't go into as much detail as I'd really like, but whoever goes into as much detail as I do, right? Oh, it's too much thinking. Sit back and watch a reel. Shut the fuck up. There's another person. I shouldn't have closed it. Professor. That's why I closed it. I was going to open up my book. There's another guy. He's a professor. Where did I put this shit? But he talks about specifically the ways in which the natural sciences as we know them today are very much a product of Christianity. the Christian way of thinking. So look, you're rejecting Christianity on the one hand, but on the other hand, you're rejecting Christianity for what you think of as science, but don't realize the degree to which that particular way of thinking is a Christian way of thinking. Now, it doesn't posture itself or present itself that way. In fact, it defines itself by refusing to present that way. You know, like as a kid, even though you're your parents' child, you want to do everything to make yourself look like I'm different from where I came from. And then it always hits you in the face. Damn, I done became my mama. I done became my daddy. It just sneaks up on you. You couldn't have got away from it. Just like the idea that you could be separate from nature. You couldn't have got away from the thing that you're running from. But you damn sure try. Professor Peter Harrison. That's his name. Here we go. Yeah. Here, let me do this. Because he goes into the kind of detail I like. My son, what you doing, man? Here we go. My typing stuck in it. Yeah, Professor Peter Harrison goes into the detail about this that I appreciate. See, once again, I will point you to all the shit I'm talking about. Places where you can actually start to do the research. Your issue isn't the lack of information. Your issue is that in the face of information, you'll just claim to know it and then keep walking, right? And won't actually do the research, won't actually look it up, won't actually take the week or two it may take to deep dive into the topic. You clearly don't have enough time, but then 3 years later, you still ain't done it. And if you'd have did it 3 years ago, you'd be surprised how far you'd be already. So yeah, Professor Peter Harrison, especially these particular videos here. This is a 5-part lecture series on the history of the scientific view in Christianity. So generally, there's this mythos we have in the West. When I say mythos, I'm not just saying a made-up story. Because see, that's what people mean. This isn't real. Okay? They mean he's not historical. I can already tell this thing's starting to fuck with me. Oh yeah, let me get out of this thing. Anyways, what is historical is true. What is physical? What is reducible to atoms, particles, matter, energy? So you say energy, and you think, well, I'm doing something different. No. You just said matter again. It's physics. See, the word energy sounds new. It sounds rational. But you actually got to look into what these things come from. Like, motherfuckers is quick to just use whatever is convenient. Yeah, I can already see that thing fucking up with me. You see, I wonder if it's causing the whole thing to fuck up. It doesn't seem like it is, but it just might be. Anyways, so that's part of a little bit we can explore, and I can't go through all of it in 3 months. So the most I can do is point you in the direction to actually dive into it. Okay? Because we have this mythos in the West that our secular scientific view has always been at battle with the supernatural. Okay? And it goes back to the Greeks. And finally we triumphed over superstition and supernaturalism. And now we're reasonable and rational. And we know the things those ignorant people in the past didn't know. It's a colonist perspective. It's a colonizer's perspective. Those ignorant people and superstitious ignorant people in the past. You may as well call them savages. Go ahead. It'll roll right off the tongue. I'm telling you. There are some ways of looking at the world that we have today that didn't exist in the past. Correct. But you only see the part in which we've gained some new thing and that they didn't have and now we're better. It's this mythos of progress. Once again, that comes right out of Europe. Instead of realizing the degree to which we've lost something. When Nietzsche says we've killed God, yeah, I knew it was getting kind of choppy. Thanks, Cass. I figured because it was acting a little weird. Anyways, when Nietzsche says we've killed God, this isn't a triumphant declaration. It's basically saying, look, we sawed off the branch that we're sitting on. What the fuck? Like, where are we going to sit? Where are we coming from now? And how the hell can we tell where we're going? All perspective is conditioned and framed. And by severing our ties with the divine and the cosmos, where are we getting direction from? In what are we grounded? And the conclusion people have come to now, well, what's physical? What I can experiment and measure? And what I can be certain about? Certain. And there it is. It pops up again and again in European history. This deep desire for certainty. And especially when you have no grounding, what that ends up happening to be is just coincidentally whatever it is you think and the place you're coming from is this place of certainty. See, that's how with all Europeans' rationality and unbiased thinking, it just so happened to be that the white man is this end result of the forward progression of all of humanity. And really, everybody else only get to be humanity once it's time to clean up, you know. Oh my God. Look, bro. It's not to say you should know this. It's to say you cannot approach this work trying to run from something else. Your rejection and rebellion cannot be what fuels you because you will inevitably create the thing that you've been running from. It's like clockwork. It's not because I'm saying it and Arius thinks he knows and he's looking down on me. No, this is inevitable. A man meets his destiny on the road he takes to avoid it. There's no workaround. So after, because I'm going to address it over and over again in the guild, once you start to break those things, it feels like, okay, well, what the fuck do I have now? I have nothing. And like, good, that's the great place to start. Because it feels like you have nothing, but I guarantee you don't. And this is where I point you back to what you've been doing and how that's developed into what you consider you, into what you consider reality in the world. Because remember, what is reality? What is you? And then how do you participate? Because if you're going to talk about how to participate, which is the practical magic, well, give me something practical, okay? Something for you to do in the world. If you're going to have something for you to do in the world, we need to understand what the world is and what you is. And not simply that there's not one universal, unbiased way of looking at this. And it also doesn't mean any and everything goes. It's examining different ways it can be looked at. And I go over this in the guild over and over again about the different ways in which this has been looked at. And it's not the most accurate or more correct or more rational to reduce these things to the natural sciences. For the natural sciences, what the world is physics. It's the metaphysical position that claims to have no metaphysical position. And look, metaphysics is philosophy. It doesn't come out with the same type of answers and results that you get from the scientific method as we know it. Because, the scientific method, once again, looks like I'm being neutral and unbiased, but it's not. It's a very specific bias. It's made to do a very specific thing, and you have to grab that or really see how you're already holding on to it if you're ever going to hope to let go of it. Because that's the thing our ancestors didn't have. We didn't look at the world like it's a machine that you manipulate and control and bend to your will. Who the fuck are you? It's something that you participate with. It's something that you have a relationship with. And there are many symbolic languages through which we understood that. But you don't want to confuse the map and the territory, which is generally what people do when they don't do research and have the poor reasoning skills. It's something it's easy to miss. I get it. I'm not insulting. This is the guidance. Like, look, it's over here. It is not hidden. Look, when you don't know what you need to know, one thing people will do is, well, I want to know whatever someone's trying to make sure I don't know. I'm saying, a little kid, right? What do you grown ups hide them? Right? Kiddo. Like, look, I get you don't know what you need to know, but that doesn't mean anything someone's hiding must be the thing. Because then you think everybody's hiding stuff. And this shit is not hidden. It's very public. So there is a track I'm guiding you down. Not because it's the end all be all. I'm not here trying to convince you of what you should think. It's an expedition into re-examining what even thinking is. What is all this stuff? This is more difficult than just adopting the word astral. Man. This is very much, and I know it won't feel like it, but this is very much a beginner's course. It's very much a beginner's course. This is not going to give you everything. It's not even close. It's unreasonable to ask it to do that. So I'm guiding you through those things that are going to disrupt your old way and introduce you to a new possible way. And that introduction process is a bitch. Because look, man, back in the day, everyone in the culture and the community had the same metaphysics. So I could, from across the room, hit you with something because I already know what's going to be in there because everyone in the community's got it. Now, that's not the case. People are coming with all kind of different things from all kind of different places in all kind of different ways. And they've never even thought to think about it. So I got to hit everybody in the room with the same rock. And they hit them from an angle they never thought about looking. And I had to keep doing that until they decide, hey, or notice where this is coming from. It can be scary. Sometimes people are just like, fuck it, hold on. What the fuck just happened? I'm gone. I'm out. That's kind of how it is. You expected this to be some secret of the physical world. and secretly wanted to control it to manipulate things so that you have a better physical life, even though you're claiming not to be the physical thing or more than that. So it's usually a lot of disrupting of your old ways of thinking. Not because mine is better, it's because specifically the thing you're using is made not to do what you're trying to do. It's like bleach is made to do what it does. But if you take it and try and make a cup of Kool-Aid, try and make an aquarium, try and water your plants, it's reasonable for someone to say, hey, look, the thing you're using, it's specifically made not to be able to do the kind of thing you're trying to do. The natural sciences, physicalism, naturalism, it's made not to do what you're trying to do. In fact, it's made to reject what you're trying to connect with. And it takes a while to get that, especially when you don't lean into the researching. I've seen it. You lean into the researching, you can take off. It'll hit you like a ton of bricks. You might be embarrassed, ashamed, upset at yourself for having thought or missed it. But once you get through that, there's so many places to go. You won't need me to tell you what to think. So that's the issue of being on track, or what the track is. Okay, there's a direction we're guiding through this. And usually to tell whether or not someone is understanding, I have to dialogue. We have to go back and forth. What I used to do is I would try and make a certification process. So set it up to where you represent to me what we've gone through. Okay? And I stopped doing that. And the reason I stopped doing that is I don't want you to study for the test. As a matter of fact, I don't want you to use the test to study. I want you to dive into it on your own. So what I found is people would try and use, okay, I'm going to take the certification test and see where I'm at. And it's like, well, no, this is an end step. You need to have already been testing where you're at before you get to the test. Well, I don't know how to. Well, that's what you need to be working on. Well, ask me, I'll help you with it. You know, study with other people. Review the information. Challenge whether or not you understand. You see, when you're out here doing it on your own, you don't have that luxury. You have to learn how to do that. Yeah, but it's hard and it's uncomfortable. And you're not wrong. You still have to learn to do it. Because otherwise, once your resource is gone, once the person you going to give you what you need is gone, you're ass out. Look, I've approached this stuff from my background research in law. Like, look, when it comes to understanding the law stuff, only test you get is in front of that judge. In a room full of people who are itching to put you in a box. You wait till you get there to question whether or not you understand, you're late. And you're food. You have to learn how to challenge your own understanding. It's not easy, it's not quick, but at the very least, I will be here to help. And if you don't want my help, I'll point you in directions you can look at to go get some other help. But you have to do that work. You have to develop systems to deal with your own tendencies of self-deception. I would say it's the most crucial part of the whole self-knowledge journey. There's no way you're going to notice, understand, comprehend any type of knowledge, let alone self-knowledge, if you're not contending with your tendencies towards self-deception. And so in that dialogue with someone, as I'm guiding, as they're trying to understand, I'm checking their orientation. I'm checking the stance that they're taking. When I'm saying this, it's not the posture of your physical body. It's the posture of you, the shape of you, the way in which you is approaching what it is you're trying to understand. And that comes out in how a question is asked. It comes out in how an answer is received. Okay? And you have to talk. You have to talk. You have to bump into the thing that you missed so you can start to adjust your perception to noticing it. The process of ascension is an expansion of your awareness. Your awareness is your capacity to notice. There are a plethora of things here you have to notice that you haven't noticed. Well, Arius, just give me the list. The list isn't going to help. I can give you a list. Because then the next thing you're going to say is, okay, well, how do I start to notice them? Okay, well, do these things. Well, I want to notice it before I start to do those things. Well, no, you notice it from doing these things. You notice it from bumping up against it again and again. And then something shifts. Hold on, what is this? And then you look at it a bit of a different way. And as you lean into that, you start to develop a whole different way of seeing. Because remember, the reality is perfect. It's already doing what it's supposed to do. You are the thing that's out of order. And so in doing these back and forths, Amara, good to see you and welcome to the show. In doing these back and forths, I'm following you. Because it's a weird line to have to walk, but as the teacher who's guiding you, who's trying to show you, who's teaching you different things, when it comes to listening, I have to follow you. I can't just insist that you follow me. I have to follow you. But then with the worst students, as soon as I start following them, they just fall apart. When I ask them, hey, follow me a little bit, it's mostly the fear of the unknown and uncertainty. And okay, it's fine to push up against this. Okay, here, look, I'll concede that. What do we have next? Where's the next thing that this go? And it's like, I don't know. I don't want anyone to tell me what to do, but then when left to your own devices, you don't know what to do. See, there's some dissonance in there. And all of that is built on this underlying current of rebellion and rejection. It's one thing to have suspicion. It's one thing to scrutinize. But see, this is what the West has done. Scrutinize themselves into oblivion. So you aren't scrutinizing to get somewhere. You're trying to find what can't be scrutinized. And to be honest, anything can be scrutinized. So that means nothing is real. No. It means your understanding of what is real or what is true needs to shift. And it's not going to land in this place of certainty. Philosophy can tell you that quick, but most people skip over the philosophy. Most people skip over a lot. I just got on, but you said reminded me of this concept as proverb in Chinese medicine. Treating someone who is already sick or suppressing a riot when it is already in progress is like digging a well when it's thirsty, or forging a sword when the battle already started. Isn't it too late? Well, yeah. You know, I would agree. Um, but in order to do my job, I can't. Uh, because just the way I'm shaped, it'd be way too easy to just presume most all of you are hopeless and there's nothing that can be done. That's what I like to think. That's what feels right. Yeah, but no, I get that because look with that particular view on medicine, they're looking at preemptive measures. So as opposed to waiting till a person is diseased, if you will, you cultivate an environment that's not going to produce those things, and so it's preemptive. Um, so yeah, I would much rather say, look, most of these ideas and concepts were embedded in the culture, in the community, in the language. But all that got relegated to savagery, ignorance, and superstition, thrown in the trash or outright burned. And now all we got left is the perspective of the colonizer. And you have to understand how that shows up as opposed to just presuming, of course, you don't have it. Mm. Yeah, it's a lot of work. But it has to get done. It has to get done. Because I actually love the subject. And so without without standing in a place where this part of the work gets done, no one gets to the place where I would like them to be. You know? So I'm going to stand here and do the work. And help you through it. But I can only help you insofar as you're going to stand up and participate. So if you're the kind of person who is terrified to speak, terrified to be seen, completely paralyzed and crippled at the possible notion that you may look embarrassed, that you may look stupid for saying something, I can't force you out of that. All I can do is lay down the ground where you could possibly be safe. You know, if you're terrified of doing anything that isn't completely comfortable, easy, I can't force you out of that. Coming into this shit, you're trying to wrestle with the biggest questions of all that have never lost a wrestling match. You're like, fuck. I try to convey the magnitude of this work, but you know, there's some things about it I cannot say or can't be conveyed in the words. Like you have to get in and see it, experience it, touch it. See, I'll give homework, and it's not busy work. See, my homework's not busy work. I'm not even gonna tell you whether or not you have to do it, but I will tell you the thing you're looking for is that way. Well, give me another way. There isn't another way. Go that way. Well, I don't want no one to tell me what to do. Okay, cool. Go do what you want to do, but I don't know what I want to do now. A rebel with no cause. I'll give you homework assignments to start you in a place, not to get you to the end. You get you to the end. Look, I'm gonna die somewhere along the path. that's just my role. Look, as you get closer to the end, I die somewhere along the path. I just wither away. You got it, Simba. Yes. And not only that, you get the homework assignments in the context of other people doing them. So you don't have to sit there and just, oh no, I'm the only one. Even though that's what people consistently think. So you come into the guild thinking, fuck the other cohorts. I'm here to listen and talk to Arius. Bitch, please. If it was really that, you could have got a consult. But 2, this is a cohort class. If you reject the research, the cohorts, the homework, why are you here? Because I tell you right now, it's not to build a relationship with me. We're not going to be friends. Especially if you can't do this. If you're a person who does not study, who is not curious about the world outside of what's comfortable and what feels good and what's easy, I'd be damned if we would be friends. Why would I want you as a friend? No. So this ain't come be Arius' friend, come be Arius' follower. You got work to do. And you're going to do it with the rest of the group because you're not special. Especially not coming in here with the dirt on them shoes. You're not special. Thank you, love. So yeah, in order to really track what you understand, I have to follow you. I have to watch you do it a little bit. I have to watch you explore it. So I can start to notice what you've noticed. Because once I can notice what you've noticed, so you saw that. That means you didn't see this. So why did you see this before you saw that part? Well, hold on. Can you see this? Oh, you only see this side of it. Okay, cool. Here, look. This is what you need to do. You're not wrong about that. Let's expand it. Let's add a little more to it. Approach it from this side. Come back to me in a week. I thought about it. I chewed on it. I was wrestling with it. And I could not only see this other thing now, but I can see why I didn't see it initially. Which is the point. Because now, see, that's a lesson I can't teach you by just talking, by giving you a script of information. There are types and ways of knowing that cannot be conveyed to you in propositions. Hell, there's some shit this work has for you I have no idea about. I'm here to help guide you through it. But there's shit that's in store for you. I don't know what's coming. That's how this works. I'm trying to tell you, man. I'm trying to tell you, but fuck me, right? No, I get it. Let's continue the interview.
And trying to quit being so fucking long-winded. But there was this one conversation I'm listening to in the guild. I mean, one of the conversations outside of the sessions where I'm just kind of sitting there and listening. And you know, in those conversations, every now and then I just have to fucking say something, right? But I was listening to the cohorts navigate something that was fearful, and I didn't immediately recognize that they were afraid of it, or that the thing they were pointing to looked scary in some way. And so when I followed them around a little bit, I could see the thing they were pointing at. Then it was like, they're like, well, oh, that just has a scary face on it, you know, like that's not shit. But not that I was wrong, but there's a way in which the fact that it had a scary face wasn't the issue. It was how the face was colored that made it scary. And that's something I still struggle with, how it felt to be scared of that thing. So not just that they're scared, but how it felt to be scared of this. It's like there was a color to the scary face that I was missing. And so I say that to say I'm also getting a lot in the moving back and forth, in the dance. And so even though I'm in the position of teacher who is the one who's supposed to know, even throughout the process, I'm going through a process, you know. So yeah, and I don't try and hide it. It's fucking bad. Oh, yeah. Sorry to be so long with the answer
Nah.
there.
I was kind of walking through that as well. That was pretty good. Hmm. See, even with what you just said and the way you explained having to walk through that, what I got from immediately, because I was listening actually, and I was listening to, and I was walking through what you was like, how many times have I done that with somebody else where I'm actually listening, walking through, like, I'm hearing what you're saying, but to actually visualize and walk through kind of the space of the land, the space that they're not necessarily indulging with, but whatever their experience is walking through with them. And it's kind of like being able to walk with a person in the scenario that they're dealing with and realizing that they see a stop sign, right? Without having to describe it. I'm like, oh, what you're describing is a stop sign. But I would have to actually walk through with you what you're, so, okay. Now I'm a bad friend now. God damn. Because what I realize is that when someone is talking to me, I'm walking through my experience. I'm trying to walk through my experience that they had. Like, I'm trying to, whatever experience they're talking about, I'm trying to rekindle a time where I experienced that and how I dealt with it. But it's like, no, like the map is not the territory kind of thing. It's like, well, nah, that's not shit, right? So it's like, walk with them. So, okay. Shit. Okay. I like that. All right. Okay.
Yeah, no, I like that too. Nah, I'm a bad friend.
Yeah.
You took that one straight to the chin and just kept moving. I love it.
Yeah.
No, okay, cool.
Yeah, but damn, I appreciate that just now.
Yeah, Ma, it's like a scarecrow. It's like a scarecrow. Let me walk through that a little bit, because the sphere is routinely the issue. like, like, like fear and pain, the biggest duo in this shit. But usually, right out the gate is fear, because fear is the one I can generally help to manage. Um, so sometimes the cohorts will be in the group chat thing. Well, on the old platform we had a voice chat, but now we're using Zoom, and sometimes people will do it this on the Zoom too. But they'll just be having their own conversations, and every now and then I'll listen in, because sometimes when I'm noticed, it's like, oh shit, Aries is here. Let's straighten up. It's like, please, what the fuck, bro? Anyways, so I tend to have to be quiet and go unnoticed if I can. But anyway, in this particular instance, they were discussing something that was scary to them amongst themselves. And I'm like, well, hold on, I got to get a good look at this. So I have to ask a few questions. I have to bounce a few things so I can see what they're looking at. And, pop out of the shadows and start saying things. But what I got from there was like a scary carnival face, like a scary carnival clown face. I'm like, well, oh, that just has a scary face on it. But that's like me telling a crow, oh, that's just sticks and straw. When they see us, they don't even just see a scarecrow. They see the farmer ready to kill them. So me telling them it's a scarecrow isn't enough. Me telling them it's sticks and an old shirt isn't enough. Because look, sticks and an old shirt, scarecrow, what are you talking about? The farmer is right there ready to kill me. And once again, it's not that either of us is wrong here. It's that, and I'll take the culpability here. there's something about the idea or the notion of the farmer ready to kill you that this experience conveys, that whether or not, like, that's what makes it real for them. And so the how they're clocking what's real isn't reaching deep enough to grab the reality of the situation. And fear will do that. It contorts. It infects things. I would say contaminates or infects things. And so yeah, what I'm usually missing is the coloring of it. Like I said, I'm going through a process too. I don't posture myself as though I know everything there is to know. I'm done. And anytime you're hearing that, especially when I'm telling you, look, that's not the point. Because this is what happens sometimes. Sometimes people put themselves in a posture where the only person who has grounds to criticize or check them is basically a Jesus-like figure. You have to have no mistakes, have done it all, you are complete, and then once you do that, you can say something. And it's like, that's the unteachable thing I was talking about in the last video. Just look, man, you don't have to win 3 NBA championships to let me know my shot is off. And if you're holding the world to that kind of standard, you're in allegiance to your ignorant ass shot. You're not seeking to develop your shot. You're seeking to maintain what you already have and protect it from scrutiny. And that's not learning. That's not growth. So no one can help you through that. That's something you have to see and let go of. And look, once again, don't mean just go to the opposite end. Well, that means I just take anything anyone says. It's like, well, no. There's a place in between where you hold a certain kind of tension. This is why you have to cultivate discernment. Discernment to see what you're getting, but also the self-analysis, the cultivating of the systems against the self-deception. And both of those will have to work at the same time. Both of those have to be working at the same time. You can't vacillate between extremes. But that's usually what we're used to doing. Anyway, so I'm going through a process myself. It's not just you show up, you're perfect, and then you teach. Gotta get the fuck out of here. You show up, you know everything there is to know, you've done it all. No. Like, once again, think about children and their parents. Children in their ignorant, naive state will project that onto their parents. It feels nice, it feels comfortable, it feels safe and secure. But it's wrong. It's short-sighted and naive, really, is what it is. And insofar as they're doing that to their parents, they can't see their parents. So you want to check where you're doing that. Not just to other people in the world, but to yourself as well. And see, that's what was conveyed in the color of the scary face that I was missing in exploring with them, that I was having trouble understanding the relevance of. Because it's relevant in a way in which I don't like. Like, if you make that thing you're pointing to relevant, that explains why everything else here is scary. Like, the only way to get out of that is to see relevance somewhere else, to notice something deeper than what you're noticing. And like I said before, it's tough. It's like I tell you to orient yourself towards the realm of things you never could have imagined. And that sounds great. But the work there is the only way you're going to be able to orient yourself that way is if you go beyond the things you do want and even further beyond the things you don't want. Then you can get to the realm where it doesn't have to do with what you want. The little things that you can imagine. And you start to open yourself to a realm of things that you're not constraining based on what you like, what you don't like, what you want, what you don't want, what you're scared of, what you're not scared of, how you want things to be. There's an entire world outside of that myopic, naive framing. It's just like a kid. Kid don't want to give up their bottle. What you mean? This is mine. What am I going to have left? I don't want to give up the diaper. Why can't I just wear the diaper forever? But you don't love me enough to keep changing me? No, love you so much that I have to fight you through learning how to do this. Because if you get even close to my age and you're still wearing a diaper, you won't be able to come back from that. You take the bitch home from the club. You about to lay the thing down, right? Hold on, let me take off my diaper real quick. What? Could you hand her the wet wipe? Could you wipe this real quick? We gonna get down to it, baby. Just get me. The powder's over there. No. Or like you grow up and your parents never told you not to eat candy and they just gave you all the candy in the world. And so you're in your 20s and you got terrible dental health. Where was your parents' responsibility to do something about that? Or just, no, be free. Candy feels good. I'd love to see him. Look how happy he is. Ah, this is great. No, it was their responsibility to do something. Well, yeah, as your teacher, it's my responsibility to call it out, but I'm deeply interested in how it works. I'm deeply interested in the thing that's salient. I can't force it on you, but I can help to lay the groundwork to begin to notice it. And for those who want to notice it, it helps. So I'm going to talk a little more about the idea of coloring, because this is the issue I have. This is the thing I'm having to learn. Okay? Because the ways in which I came to this stuff is not the way I'm going to talk to you in the guild. Well, I want to do it the way you do it. What the fuck make you think that? I can tell just how you walk in here, you don't want it that way. Fuck, like I said, you're not here to be my follower. You're not here to recreate me. The fuck out of here. You don't want it the way I got it. Fuck you mean. Otherwise, you'd have got it already. But stop. In fact, you're getting things I wouldn't have gotten. Like, those kids who grow up in the suburbs, right? And their parents grew up in the projects. You may think this is boring. This isn't cool. You should have brought me up the way you came up. Nah, you don't want that. It's arrogant. It's naive. It's short-sighted. That's what I said last time. I think a lot of this stuff is an issue of maturity. But that's an even longer discussion. So yeah, this is the thing I'm generally working against. Because like I said, I usually don't have anything to say to make it feel better. You'd be surprised how often people are looking for that. I don't have it. I'm bad at it. And that doesn't help because I really do see my duty to make sure I'm not doing that. So but it's still something I need to learn. And I'm very interested in learning it because it can help me through the entire work at all. So you're not the only person here learning something. But if you walk in this motherfucker ain't learned shit yet and want to jump straight to the place where you teaching me, but stop. Just move. Just move. Just go ahead and go ahead. Just go ahead, bro. Little niggas.
See, and here's the thing, right? It's like this is like being in the guild. Going back to that, it's like seeing that perspective now. I mean, it's going to take me a while to yeah, it just went back to that. What do you say? You diminish your capacity to notice, right? So it's like, what's the other? It's bringing me back to somewhere just now. It's something about noticing. But anyway, yeah, this is the type of things I go through on a day-to-day basis, right? So it's like, now that I'm aware of what you just walked me through, or what you just walked through with your students, it's like now when I have a conversation now, it's like, it's gonna take me a while, but it's like, am I noticing what I'm doing in this conversation? Like, can you walk through with this person, right? And okay, and make it less about myself as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's
the trick.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Yeah, right. It's like,
And even I'm not perfect with it, and that's kind of what that experience of not noticing the color the way in which they noticed it was showing with me, and I still wrestle with it. So it's something. I would say it's learned. I wouldn't fault anybody for not doing it just off the cuff. You know?
And when you mean by color, what do you exactly mean? Because I'm like, I know it's not just red. I mean, it's a color red, but I'm sure it has way more detail to that.
I probably should say, instead of the color, the coloring. Look, that even displays another degree to which I consistently miss the thing I'm pointing to here, because it's the coloring and not the color. I'm so focused on shit. There's color. It's not just the way the thing presents itself. It's the way it's the way the thing presents itself, the way the thing is present, and there's a last one where it's like almost the way in which you're present with it. But that's not quite catching it. But it's the coloring is touching all of those things. It's like looking at someone's like a blank, like one of them sculptures. Like they make the sculpture out of like some plaster or something. You look at it, it's just like blank white. But then looking at it after somebody went through the whole airbrushing and the shading, like, of course you're technically seeing the same thing, but you're not. And there's a value in the coloring and the way it's colored that is not captured by just the shape of the statue. And it's a kind of valuable that my intuition is that somewhere along the way, in my breaking of so many things I may not have needed to break, I broke something that makes this side more efficient, but robs me of something that I need to be able to see. And it's in that coloring. It's in the coloring. Because the experience was they were scared of the thing, and it's like, okay, well, it's like a scarecrow face. Okay, of course you're scared of it, but that didn't capture it. It's like the way in which the fear fit to the shape of them was significant. Like, it's not even like I'm just scared. It's like I'm scared of this, and there's a depth to that the coloring captures Like I'm constantly just circling this fucking thing. It's so serious.
Mm.
But I think I could be a better teacher if I could touch that. Because so often I find people are all focused on, like all of people is focused on the coloring, and because I'm so often trying to get them to see the plain white statue underneath, but it's like because they're missing it. But I can't do that without deeply pursuing this thing that I myself am missing. And it's that's for all intents and purposes. There's an emotional element to it that it's not that I don't have, but I'm not noticing it in the same way in which my students don't notice the thing I'm pointing to out the gate. It frustrates me all the time.
I could imagine.
Questions are on me. Here you go, Aries. No, I get it. Yeah, it's something I miss a lot. Like, it's like sometimes it's like I'm a creature that uses echolocation, and like I can see the texture of it. I can see the levels of it. But there's something valuable I miss in not catching not just color, but the coloring. Not just color, but the coloring. And look, this is actively part of the work I do for myself. It's just like, look, I'm redeveloping eyes for color, and they disgust me. They're difficult. It's like a bat suddenly growing eyes that see color. And not even suddenly, long, painstakingly doing it. So I catch the detail of stuff. But the texture is missing something that the coloring would convey. The same way the coloring is missing something that the texture is conveying. Oh yeah, most certainly not perfect. What you see is defined by what you don't see. Exactly. So when we look at the color and focus on that, we don't see the canvas underneath. Exactly. Same way my focus on the canvas underneath misses the color. See, there's no place I come at this work or the teaching where I don't have things to learn. But Aries, it just doesn't feel like you have things to learn. Look, bro, look. I don't know what to do about that. Once again, you telling me about the coloring, and look, I'll concede you to you. It's the coloring isn't there, but I'm not here to give you the coloring. I'm here to help you to notice the coloring that you brought. It's not to say coloring is unnecessary or invalid. I can tell you it's not. Simply being the kind of thing that doesn't do it as effectively as I could. I can tell you there's value there. But just the simple fact that you coming to me about how it's colored, bro, that's your coloring. And like, by being so engrossed in the coloring, you're missing the manner in which you're participating. That's why I'm pointing you to the texture so you get the juxtaposition and you can notice your own participation in it. Like, look, something that echolocates is not only pulling in the environment, the texture of themselves comes with the echolocation. But just regular color vision, like, you gotta look down. Like, look, With these eyes, I can't see my skull. With echolocation, I could. It's not one is more important. It's that they both give you different information, and when you have these different lines of information in communication with each other, you can notice an entirely new landscape of salience. You can expand your awareness. Your capacity to notice can open up further than it was, which is the point. One of the things, and I'm constantly trying to convey this is why we go over shadow work so much in the guild, is it's not that you get to a place where you have no bullshit. No. You get better and better at noticing the smell of your own. You get better and better at noticing the smell of your own. It's not that you don't have it. Because once you get out of this, I want to not have any bullshit, and you can examine your bullshit and you can notice it, you can start to see through it. And when I say through it, not just beyond it, but also by way of it. Just like glasses. You got glasses on, you see through the glasses. You don't just see beyond them, you see by way of them. That's how symbols work as well. Gerald Sunbright, welcome to the show, man. Good to have you. When you say color, are you talking about how one is perceiving a particular thing? It goes into that. I kind of broke it down a little bit here. It's like, okay, so there's the way the thing you're perceiving is presenting itself. There's the presence the two of you have, and then there's also how you're perceiving it. And the way color is showing up, or the effect it has on you, rather. I think the effect the coloring has on you has a lot to do with how you're approaching it. Look, there's like this, an interior decorator may be able to walk into a room, right, and see not just the color that's already there, the ways in which it doesn't work, the ways, what it could be, the ways it can work. So they're not just seeing the color that's there, they're seeing through it, they're seeing beyond it and by way of it. And when you just stop at the level of the coloring that's present, not only do you miss the deeper ways of knowing you could tap into, but if the way you're presenting or the way you're participating, the way you're participating with the coloring that's showing up can say something. So like the fearful way of presenting or participating with it, especially if in the face of fear your choice is to move, run, or avoid. Because I don't want to convey don't have fear. I think that's ridiculous. No one has no fear. It's your relationship to fear, what you do in the presence of it. And that's what I find with this coloring. There's something about the coloring that paralyzes. Like, it contributes to the paralysis in some way. Like, okay, yeah, the way the person is orienting themselves is most certainly a factor. But there's something in the quality of the coloring that's striking. There's something in the aesthetics. And I'm usually trying to point you beyond aesthetics because we're so engulfed in aesthetics these days. But I'm not trying to tell you there's no value in that. It's that, like, look, once again, if you have like a plain white statue, right? And you decide to color it. If you don't color it based on the texture of the statue, that's going to show up in the coloring. So in order to effectively color it, you need to have a good idea of the texture. Okay? So the knowledge of the texture is one thing. And that's usually where I'm at, the knowledge of the texture. But what that misses is what the coloring of that statue can say. The shading, the choice of this color over here, the way these particular colors contrast and come together to say something that the texture alone does not say. I'm usually missing that part. I'm usually missing grabbing that. But I mean, I actually go out of my way a lot of times to not notice it. And I've put that into so many different systems, it's hard to find the thing that I can extract to do something about that. I was gonna say, you don't want to come in this the way I came into it. No, you can actually develop well beyond where I'm at. Once again, that's probably just in the pool of shit area says, right? Are you pointing to at my posture approaching it that invokes those particular colors that is present to us? Said differently, my orientation invokes said colors that it presents to me from my orient. Yes, but I'm also pointing at the participation. Because, yes, there are colors you're bringing to it, but there's colors it has. Like when I talk about the plain white statue, plain should be in quotes because it's coming with its own color. Like just its existence in the light gives you shadowing, gives you shading. It's coming with there's something it comes with that you're grabbing. Like sharp teeth and eyes in the darkness. Okay? That conveys the danger. Not only does it convey danger, but there's a certain way you can be oriented to notice it as danger. And those things are participating. Those things are participating with each other. So it is the orientation. But if you understand how your orientation shows up, you can change that to change how the participation is. So you may not have to necessarily be terrified of teeth and eyes in the shadows, or even if you are terrified of it, your landscape of what's salient, it doesn't have to be simply flight and fight. There's a different way in which you can orient and then participate. It's the participation that I'm pointing to. And what it is you're perceiving. It's both. It's the one perceiving, the thing perceived, but the manner in which they participate. The manner in which they participate is there too. And that's part of why it's the focus of what I talk about here, because Practical Magick is your participation in reality. And participation isn't just the two sides that are participating. There's a through line that is between them, beneath them, and beyond them. And it's a through line. And you can't describe it by just describing the things that are participating. Yeah, now we're getting into what is you. Because like we talk about in the guild, what is you comes directly out of what is reality. And so those are already in participation. So like I'm saying, there's so much going on already. And it's not a focus on, okay, what's the new thing I need to do? It's like, well, no, what the fuck's been going on already? That's where you're going to find everything you can do. Well, most of what you can do. The shit you have a natural propensity for. But people are consistently looking for, okay, what's the new thing I need to do? What's the next thing? What's the progress? And it's like, slow down. Stop trying to get somewhere. You don't even know where you're at. And you have a skewed idea of where you've been. So you're most definitely not going to get to wherever it is you're supposed to end up at. And you need to deeply re-examine what you've been doing. Or we've never left. Look, sometimes that be the case. You know, you get so focused, you look a turtle on the back, just moving your arms, right? And you so focused on how much movement you've done, you don't realize you ain't moved nowhere. And see, that's focusing on the wrong, or not the wrong, but too shallow of a depth. That turtle on his back been moving his leg for the last 2 days. Man, I must have walked a mile already. But because they're missing a particular depth in their perception, you don't realize you haven't gone anywhere yet. Because you focus on something that's not going to give you the feedback to tell you that. And when when the person is constantly looking at the coloring to give them the feedback, how it feels, they're going to miss a particular valuable depth that I'm trying to convey. But I don't convey that, or at least I make my best effort not to convey that from a place where the thing you already have has no value. It's that no, there's different kind of value you need to actually make that effective and progressive towards the thing you say you want to do. Because when you said more options than just fight or flight, to me, those other options only present for a non-physical conception of self or primordial conception of self. Well, I would think, because look, once you have those, once you have the non-physical and primordial conceptions, that feeds back and that reshapes the physical conception of self. And so the landscape, once the landscape expands enough to contain more metaphysical or ontological categories, that feeds back into the you. And so that gets a different landscape. So you're not wrong. You're not wrong with that. You missed what's said before and what it is you're perceiving. Wait, what did I miss? Oh, okay. Interesting. So color is deeper than just the appearance of whatever it is one is perceiving. And if you just stop at the appearance, you're going to miss the reality of what could be. Yes. It's that the perception is too shallow. It's like, look, if I'm wearing glasses and the furthest I can see is the lens, I'm not using the glasses right, and I'm not going to have a good perception of anything beyond it. Or rather, no, so maybe not too short-sighted, but maybe I don't understand the glasses, so I have rose-colored glasses. And because I'm not taking into account the glasses themselves, I'm presuming the rest of the world is the color that I'm seeing. So it's not just because look, the world does present itself certain ways, and I won't deny that. But you have to understand how you're presenting as well and how that participates together, because otherwise you're missing a big piece of the pie. It's like kids make the mud pie, and look, they got some of it. You get a little pan, and you put stuff in it, and you stir. They have something. Okay, it's not that they have nothing. They have something, but that mud pie is very far from cherry. And if you actually want to get to cherry, you have to see those things. And some people don't want to get to cherry. They want to feel like the thing they already got is cherry. And they look, that mud pie is not cherry. It ain't apple. It ain't pineapple. That shows how ain't no peach cobbler. I get, look, what you have isn't completely useless and wholly trash, even though I really want to say that because that's how I feel. Look, you got a pan, things go in it, and you stir. Okay, so you have things, but there's more depth to it that you have to notice. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to participate in the way you're looking to. But see, it's hard to even hear any of that when the focus is on how you want the mud pie to feel, what you don't want to feel about it, what you feel I'm saying. So you're just saying my mud pie is trash. No, I'm not saying that. I want to say that, but I'm not saying that. I'm saying, look, you have something here. But we need to get a good look at it so you can see what you don't have and you can use those to actually get where you're trying to go. Well, I don't want to have to see that this isn't good enough or this is just completely off. I like to think, maybe I'm close and this is pretty much what a pie is. And it's like, and there's something about kindergarten that gives kids that, and there's a place where they need it. And part of what I have trouble understanding is, how is that learning? Like giving them confidence and making sure they feel safe and secure to me, I mean, there's something you're learning there. Okay, I can't dismiss that. But when everybody's macaroni picture is amazing, there's only so far you can get with that. You can't become one of the greats like that. You can't become an artist. Again, it doesn't feel good. But I mean, it's not where I'm pointing. It's not to say the thing you're pointing at is absolutely useless. But if you keep that, if you don't let go of that, you won't get where you're trying to go. Like a monkey with his hand in the jar gripping that banana. You're not getting away from this trap unless you let that go. Look, you're right. There's a banana in there. That's good food. And really, look how close you are. If you could just get your hand out the jar, you'd have it. The only reason you're doing it that way is because you've missed a particular depth in which you would notice this is set up for you not to get your hand out. And if you keep grabbing it, you'll never get away. You'll miss the entire forest full of fruit trees. I get the way it presents to you. The clear jar looks like there's barely anything here. I can see the fruit. It's real. There's something real here. I can touch it. It's within my grasp. It's a trap. You're not getting out of it. As long as you hold on to that, you're not going to be able to do what you want to do. Look, that's hard to try and convince that monkey that he should let go of that fruit and then run. And sit there and scream, cry, try to avoid the hunter, but won't let go of that fruit and will stay stuck and just be confused. I just don't understand what's happening. Is it scary? What's going on? I should be able to get away. There's a depth of the scenario you're missing that's keeping you there. And I can't force you to let it go. Being in the guild, I had to develop the way of knowing that wasn't solely based on my emotions. Seeing emotions as signs rather than the destination. Yes, exactly, Amar. Because look, emotions, they have so much value. They can point you in the direction of something that needs some attention. Like pain. That's the value of pain. I know no one likes pain. I hate pain. But what's its utility? What's it doing? Hey, this over here needs some attention. What is fear doing? Hey, this thing over here needs some attention. And if you spend all your time trying to avoid the fear and the pain, not only will you not notice the thing you need to notice, you'll end up creating systems that keep you not noticing what you need to notice. It's a whole mountain of bullshit. And it's tough to get through that. Thinking is difficult. It's an active thing. And most people do not think. They feel. And look, I'm not trying to insult or look down or say you're bad. And look, you're feeling again. Thinking is a very active and intentional process. It's very different from having a thought, which is what people say, but generally means the thought has them. Thinking is very intentional. And it's especially difficult at first. And a lot of people don't know how to think without talking to someone. Like, that's even more difficult. So especially if you're out here on this autodidactic type of path where I'm going to learn it myself and I'm going to go straight to the source and teach myself, not only do you actually need to be a thinker, You got to be able to what's the word? Monologically think, not dialogically, which is what we're fucking built to do. And see, when I say you're not doing it, it's not an insult. But that's something we wrestle with as well. That's what comes from the thinking with emotions, is that things either look like compliments or criticism. Well, I don't like how it felt to hear that, so he's trying to do this to me. He wants me to feel this way. He doesn't like me. He hates me. He's angry. Doesn't like, hate, angry. All emotion. All emotion. Once again, something I can't force you out of. It's something you have to grow out of. And it's not something, like when I say grow out of, it's not something you're forced out of, like you grow out of your old pants from when you were a young kid. Well, now your body just can't fit in it anymore. Like, no. This work, you have to orient yourself in a way to which you're open to it. And being open to it means loosening your grip on those old things. Very much so. Very much so. And it don't tickle. It don't tickle. Amar, I've been in the, well, no, this is Gerald Sombright. I've been in the process of seeing myself outside of my emotions, but before I developed a way of doing that, I used to move solely based off feelings and while telling myself I'm trying to get out that. Look, it's typical. It's I think it's very natural to start there, but especially these days, a lot of us are underdeveloped. What's the phrase? Arrested development. You have an arrested development. So sometimes it'll sound like I'm talking down to you. It's like, no, I'm pointing to the way you want to go. Don't put me on a pedestal. I hate that one. Look, I'm gonna start shitting on stuff. Don't put me on a pedestal. No. Because look, if you put me or anyone else on a pedestal, what you're doing is you're maintaining yourself as normality and making them exceptional. Keep me at normality, because what that's going to do is going to highlight your own insufficiency. Now, of course, it doesn't feel good, but from there you have a view of what you can work on. Period. It can be that simple. I mean, it sounds that way because I put it in semantics, but the actual doing of it is difficult. You have to wrestle with it. You have to battle against the friction from the momentum you already built up. Feeling my way through life. Yeah, the feeling. Once again, because you'll miss it if you listen to me with your emotions. I'm not telling you emotions and feelings are bad. I'm not telling you get to a place where you don't have them. You're going to have them. What needs to shift is your relationship to them. If all you do is what you're forced to do, what feels good, you haven't started thinking about it yet. You're reacting. You're reacting to it. You're probably rationalizing as opposed to being rational, which is a completely different aspiration. So yeah, like I'm trying to get you guys into the place, and I can't force you there. I can't force you there. And I'd really rather not bullshit you there. As soon as you realize there's the bullshit, you're going to look back at me. Why was you bullshitting me? Well, why were you insisting I do it? That's why I'm not mad at the other presenters, because y'all motherfuckers will insist that they bullshit you and tell you what you want to hear as opposed to what you need to hear. Where it is. See? I gotta do my video. No, actually, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it because this motherfucker already acting slow. See? Here it go. Yeah, here it go. Here it go. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it, Tom. Yeah, I still have them, and I don't want to move. I don't have them, but I deny. Oh, yeah, I still have them. Yeah, I definitely still have them, and I don't want to move like I don't have them, but I'm defying. I'm definitely working on my relationship with them. Yeah, look, you're always going to have them. You're always going to have them. So it's not, you don't orient yourself in a way in which you're going to get to a place where you don't have them anymore. You orient yourself in a way in which we're going to be walking together forever. Like, look, you don't learn to wipe your ass so that you get to a place where one day you'll never have to wipe it anymore. If you're in a place where you're not wiping your own ass, you're either a baby or in a lot of trouble. A grown person that's not wiping their own ass is sick in some kind of way. So look, if you're in a situation where someone else is wiping your ass for you and you're grown, something's gone wrong. So you don't learn to wipe your ass so you get to a place where you never have to do it again. You learn to do it because you're going to do it every day for the rest of your life. And probably beyond. That's up for debate though, right? Here, let me continue the interview, guys. Yeah, it's active.
And this is some of the things why. This is some of the reasons why I joined the guild again. Like, just from that, what you just said, I was kind of running through like some of the things I fear, and trying to describe the coloring. Like, even if off this conversation right now, my whole day is I don't want to say my whole day's been accounted for, because I'm gonna be thinking about this the entire day. I know I'm gonna probably watch this back and be like, I could have said this, which is okay. This happens when listening to the recordings in the guild. I'm like, I should never said that. And that's another thing too. I think with the guild is like when you speak up and you go back to listen to the recordings, you're like, damn, I should have never said that, right? But it's like, well, this isn't space for that. And yeah, get used to hearing your own voice. I mean, if you speak, obviously, but it comes with the territory, and I even find this foolish at the moment. Is like, being afraid of hearing your own voice and speaking up, like that's very scary as well. Like, I mean, you want children to speak up, but it's like, as an adult, supposedly an adult means, let me chill. You're afraid to speak, and maybe it's not being afraid to speak is what you're talking about. Um, and yeah. Uh,
Yeah, she acting funny. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm about to make. I'm gonna end this one and pick it back up right here. Where we at? 17:15. Yeah, I'm gonna let this computer do something for a second, and then I'm gonna come back. Do you think?